SNP partnership. He said if Labour won the election, they'd be dictated to by this Scottish nationalists, holding them to ransom on a vote-by-vote basis. But the Tories have been accused of panicking and using intemperate language. Well, joining me now from our Westminster studio is the former leader of the Liberal Democrats, Paddy Ashdown. Very good afternoon to you. Do you find yourself with a degree of agreement with what your old adversary, Sir John Major, has been saying?
I think my old friend John Major is really suffering from a bit of selective amnesia. He talks today about the SNP holding a government to ransom, about daily chaos. Well, he should know. That's exactly what he was in when the extreme right, when the right wing, he called them the bastards, you will remember, held his government to ransom and caused daily chaos. Indeed, it caused him to resign. So he should know what it's like. And the truth is that we are as much at risk from an unholy alliance between extreme right-wing conservative members of Parliament. There are now, by the way, 60 of them, not 16 as there were in John Major's day, who are in alliance with UKIP and the Ulster Unionists to hold Mr Cameron to account. Mr Major is in many ways appearing on our television screens as the ghost of Christmas future for David Cameron. It's exactly what it would look like with Mr Cameron, a weak Prime Minister, weakened by being held to ransom by 60 right-wing Conservative members of Parliament in alliance with UKIP and the Ulster Unionists to drive a right-wing agenda.
All right,
you choose which of those two you prefer least. There's only one way around both of them, by the way, and that's to have a strong force of
we're dealing with
keeping to the centre ground.
We're dealing with hypothetical situations, and the other hypothesis is this Labour SNP alliance of some sort, perhaps on a vote-by-vote basis. Do you not think, given what we've heard, and not just yesterday from Nicola Sturgeon, what we've heard from the SNP, and given their ultimate goal, that they would drag Labour down a road that it wouldn't go if it was governing on its own?
Yes, I mean, there's definitely a risk of that, but there's also a risk equally great, and in some may regard more damaging, if you allow a Conservative government, by the way, they pretend they can get a majority, they can't, but if they get close to a majority, being in alliance with UKIP, the Ulster Unionists, driven by those 60, well, Mr Major called them bastards, you can choose what word you like, to follow a right-wing agenda. So, you know, how do you avoid a coalition on the one hand, which will break up our country, and a coalition on the other, which will drive such deep cuts to our public service that they will break up our society? There's only one way to avoid that, and that is a strong force of Liberal Democrats holding this country to the centre course and making sure that any coalition we have, and we'll have to have one, is based on decency, unity and stability.
So in that coalition, which you'd like to see the Lib Dems in to avoid breaking up our country, how closely would you deal with the SNP when it comes to their main agenda, which of course is trying to break up the country, trying to perhaps get another referendum? You wouldn't allow that. That would be a line in the sand.
No. I mean, you asked me this question on Sunday when we met. We were also discussing the Mediterranean, and the answer is the same, surprise, surprise. Nick Clegg has made it very clear that he will not work with a political party whose aim is to break up the United Kingdom, just as he will not work with a political party whose aim is to push Britain out of Europe in a way that will damage us. So the SNP and UKIP are out. Now, the significant thing, and the thing you've not yet asked a Conservative person on your programme, is would they do a deal with UKIP? At least Labour has said they would not have a coalition with the SNP. Mr Cameron was asked 5 times at the weekend whether he would do a coalition with UKIP, and he refused to answer. We must presume from that the Conservative Party are prepared to put themselves in exactly the position that Mr Major was warning of with the SNP, only this time with UKIP, the Ulster Unionists and their own right-wingers. I mean, if you want someone who is the apotheosis, the human representation of a Prime Minister who has been weakened by being held to ransom within his own party, then Mr Major is the person. I frankly wouldn't have put him up today. It seems to me to be an extraordinary decision by the part of a rather desperate Conservative Party, because he is precisely the person who illuminates the difficulty Mr Cameron will be under, and the consequence for all of us, by the way, will be massive cuts to our public services and a right-wing agenda that panders to the worst instincts of our country, not the best.
All right, Paddy Ashdown, good to talk to you again. Thank you very much indeed.